So you're Noel.
Yeah.
Is
I
that correct?
I checked today on like my name tag and it did say that. So I guess that's what I've been assigned for today.
The name that you've been assigned for today?
Yeah, just for today. I like to switch it up every now and then. Interesting enough, my mom, like, it's weird that you brought this up because, like, a week ago, my mom asked me, like, what do you want to be called? Because my dad's name is also Noel, but I've always grown up as Lito. So, like, my family has always called me Lito, and it means little,
Right.
and my name would be Noelito.
Right.
So I'm like little Noel. But now that I'm like older, my mom's like, "Do you want us to call you by your middle name, which is Josue, and that's Spanish for Joshua?" Um, so she's like, "Do you want to be called by your middle name? Do you want to be called Noel or Lito?" And I was like, "Lito's fine," but like she seems insistent on not wanting to call me Lito anymore. Like she wants to call me like Joshua, and I'm like, "That's no." I'm like the name that my own family is calling me is changing. Like no, I don't like that. I was like, please just call me Lito still. Like, yeah, it might
That's fun.
be little
So
and not,
you want
yeah.
it to stay consistent. You just want to be
Exactly, yeah.
called what you've always been called. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that brings up an interesting topic because we a couple weeks ago we were talking about you going for your Mexican citizenship.
Yes.
Um, but what's the history there? Because I know your parents are from Mexico, correct?
Yes.
When um when did your family come to the States?
So actually, also a very funny thing. So my mom and dad's 39th anniversary was yesterday.
Oh,
And
congratulations to them.
yeah. It's really, really exciting. My mom showed me like the flowers that my dad got her and everything, and I want to do something special for them for their 40th anniversary. So hopefully they don't listen to this. I mean, we'll see if they listen to it or not. But I want to send them both on like a trip to Jerusalem. But that's
Mm.
like a side note. But my mom told me that they came here. I want to say if it was 39, I want to say they came here about actually very close to that. I want to say like 38 years ago, maybe like 30, 36 years ago. They came here like on work visas.
Hmm.
My mom and dad both went to college in Mexico, and then they found jobs in the US. So they just came here and started working here. And I'm starting slowly to learn more and more about the history of my parents because my dad started like a glass company where like they would work on like car windshields and stuff like that. Which I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I just learned about that or just heard about that. But ever since they've been here, they've always my dad especially has always been kind of looking into what's where are the best things to do in the United States, and he kind of came to the conclusion that like starting a company is one of the best things to do. And he had a good friend that started a landscaping company, and so they worked together on that for a little while. But yeah, my parents both from like Mexico City, Mexico. There's any Hispanic folks listening, like we're called Chilangos,
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
is what they call them. But they're both from there. Huge families. My mom has 11 siblings, and my dad has 12 siblings, and I have more than
Holy.
50 cousins. So like I have a lot of cousins, and I have only met like four of them. So I think it would
Are
be
they
interesting. What was that?
majority of your extended family are in Mexico still?
Yes. Yeah. Some of them are in Los Angeles and then the rest are in Mexico. So I want to say maybe I have like maybe like 16 family members in Los Angeles and then all of the rest are in Mexico.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I feel like we could talk about some things because you said your dad started a company and
Yeah.
determined that that was the thing to do here, or like the best course of action.
Yeah.
Um, I want to dig into that probably in a later episode because that's I think another thing that our parents maybe were similar but also pretty different on. Like my parents also started a couple of businesses, but it didn't
Oh,
really go anywhere, and so they kind of fell into stability of
mm,
working for like a large company. Anyway,
yes.
that'd be interesting to dig into.
I mean, I
Um,
was going to say the same thing. That's exactly what happened with my family. Same exact way.
mm, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that,
Um,
and also there was a business partner that was keeping the taxes money and not showing it to my dad, and not paying taxes, and then they got a bill for all this taxes all at once, and it turns out that this partner was stealing all of that taxes money the whole time. And
yes.
yeah, and that that can take you out real fast. So I remember when I started a company, my dad very adamantly was like, make sure you pay the taxes, like pay that as one of the first things. And I was like, what? And he was like, just trust me, just trust me. And then I learned the story like 2 years later, and he said, yeah, I had a business partner that stole all the taxes money, so just be careful on who you trust, is what he was telling me.
Valuable,
Yes.
valuable information.
Yes.
Um, interesting. So where were you born then?
I was born in Los Angeles, Los Angeles, California. Lived there for about 2 years, so I don't really like see myself as from California or from Los Angeles, but I
Mhm.
grew up in Reno, Nevada. So
Mhm.
about 14 years total, because I've been in and out of Reno, Nevada, and then lived a little
Which
bit in
is
Kansas
where
City.
which is where we met.
Yes, yeah, yeah, where we met, yeah, and yeah, we met what was that? We met at like a coffee shop, right? Or like a bar or something like that, that first time.
No, we met at Living Stones, uh,
What?
the church that we were both going to. Yeah, that was the first time that we met. Rachel introduced us. It
Yeah.
was in the hallway, uh, like right outside the sanctuary. I remember that. And then we went. I think we went to Pinion after.
Himian. What's Himian?
No, Pinion.
Oh,
That big
Pinion. Yes,
place in
yes,
Midtown.
yes.
I think that's what you're thinking of, probably.
Yeah, you have a very good
Um,
memory. Yeah.
I
I
don't. I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, I grew up going to Livingstone's. That was my home church. Like I knew the guy who started it. Like it was actually Livingstone's was Grace Community Church, and then Harvey Turner started a Bible study, and then they split the church. Like a bunch of people started going to his Bible study, and then he started his own church and basically like poached a bunch of folks from Grace Church, and that's why there's that little, if you've noticed, I don't know if you've seen it or not, there's that little tiny bit of tension for the people that know the history, but for everyone else, they're just like, oh yeah, it's a church.
Grace community, no connection to the Grace community in LA, I'm assuming.
No, no, Grace Community Church in Reno.
I know, but there's also a very large, very
Uh,
well-known church in Los Angeles, headed by John MacArthur,
yes,
um, called
my
Grace
dad goes
Community
to
in
that
LA.
church, or that's where we used to go.
Ah, I
Yeah, my
think
dad.
we talked about we had a conversation about this, and we can get into that also in later episodes.
Yeah, my dad. I can show you the text messages. I have a whole stream of like gty.org, and my dad sending me like the newest gty.org
Grace to you,
sermon
yeah,
every
yeah,
single day almost.
yeah. So this is actually interesting. Um, I think we can probably glean a lot of topics from this little introduction section,
Yeah.
because like there's already three or four things from just what you've said of what I want to dive into deeper, and then that could
Mhm.
be like a whole episode on its own. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited for it.
I'm going to be taking some notes here. So sorry if I get a little distracted, because I want to write it down so I don't forget, because I will.
No good.
Um,
Where did you grow up, Joel? Where were you born? Were your parents
so I was
immigrants?
also yeah, so I was also born in LA. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah, I was born in Mission Hills, California, and I grew
Mission.
up in a suburb called Santa Clarita. Um, and I was there for like 24 years until I moved to Reno, and I'm still here.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
nice.
and so we have some interesting similarities where my mom is from Mexico City, and she came here when she was really young. My dad is a few generations American, but originally his uh, great grandfather came from Norway. And
Wow.
I've recently had the chance to review some like biographical documents that both on both sides, and we talked about this a little bit last time. Um, like people on both sides of my family, like my mom's grandfather and my dad's great grandfather, wrote wrote down, documented a bunch of stuff. And so I was recently able to read it, and it was really fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm also, I do consider myself an Angelino from Los
Angelina.
Angeles because I grew up there. So not Orange County. That
Okay.
is south of Los Angeles County. I had a lot of friends in Orange County and was there a lot. That's where I did most of I worked like every weekend in Orange County as a coach. But I'm from North LA County, a town called Santa Clarita.
Nice. How'd you get into coaching? Because I know coaching is like a big part of your history, and like you coach volleyball, right? Did you coach like other sports too, or sorry, I threw a few questions
Yeah,
at you there.
no worries. Yeah, sports was a huge part of my life. Uh, Not so much the last 5 years after moving here, really. I played baseball and I played volleyball. My all my siblings played sports. I have three older siblings, and we played volleyball. Was a huge family sport. We would even host like grass volleyball nights every week in the summer because we had a large backyard with like especially my my dad planned out our backyard so that we could have a grass court
Oh,
like on the
nice.
lawn. Um, and so we would host like every Wednesday night in the summer. We'd have a bunch of people over and we'd do volleyball. But I ended up playing club my senior year of high school, like travel volleyball, and then was able to from that be recruited to play at LA Pierce College. So
Nice.
I played for one. I played 1 year of college volleyball, um, which was a really cool experience. And I simultaneously, after I graduated high school, and the year I was playing, I also started coaching. I had one of the club I played for, Legacy, was run by a family, and one of the sons asked um, after I graduated and was no longer playing for the club, he got a job as a varsity coach at one of the local high schools, and he asked if I would be the freshman coach at that school. So that was sort of my entry into coaching. And then after I quit as a player, I started coaching for that club that I played for, which I coached there for almost 8 years, I think. And then for 3 of those years, those later years, I also was hired as the first assistant coach at the Masters University, which is the university
John
run by Grace Community Church.
McDavid.
So that's all connected.
Yeah, brought it full circle.
Yeah, full circle. So yeah,
Yeah.
coaching was like a part was almost a decade of my life. I coached basically full time for like 8 to 9 years, and I actually majored in sports psychology because of that. Um, Plenty of conversations to be had about that down the road. But yeah, that was a huge part of my life. I moved up here and I coached for 1 year at a club here in Reno. But the travel is so much different. Like in LA, there's tons of volleyball. It's a massive sport. And so all of the tournaments are local. Here in Reno, you're traveling to the Bay Area, to Fresno, to
Yeah.
Vegas,
Yeah.
every other week, and that's just brutal. And so I couldn't do it after a year. Started a business and all that stuff too. So I am hoping because I am planning to move back to Southern California in about a
Yeah.
year, and I would like to be able to coach part time because I really do miss the volleyball world.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that you want to get into that. I think you find yourself in a lot of leadership type positions. Would you say you're kind of geared towards that, or did you grow up with like a lot of siblings and like maybe you were like an older sibling and you've been naturally inclined towards that, or
Well, I'm
like
the
how have you found
youngest,
yourself in
so
that? What did you say?
I am the youngest.
You're the youngest. Okay, yeah, I'm the youngest too.
Of how many? Remind
of
me.
of three. I have a brother-in-law. My sister got married. My sisters are 11 and 9 years older than me, so I'm quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
younger than them. And then my sister got married around like 18, 19. So I was about like 8 or 9 when my brother-in-law came into the picture. So I kind of, to me, he's also a brother. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's say youngest of three biologically, but really like four.
That's interesting because I also have a brother and sister who are 11 and 9 years older than me.
Wow.
I
All
just
right.
there's one more sister in between there, so I have another sister 6 years older than I am.
Yeah. And we're
Um,
both black. So, we also have that in common as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For
Yep.
those listening,
Canceled
we're
right
trying
away.
not to look at each other. We're trying to just verbally talk right now. So I'm looking at a black screen. So as far as I know, that's what Joel looks like. I've never seen
Yeah,
him.
we've never met in person. We've never hung out. Uh, so what are you? Because you're not in Reno anymore. So
um,
what took you away from me?
Yeah, lots of reasons. One of those was just kind of asking God like where He wanted me to be at the time, and I thought I needed to be somewhere where I felt a little bit more like spiritually grounded, and I definitely felt like biblically grounded in Reno with like Living Stones, but going to there was a church called IHOP, and then they changed a lot, like quite a bit, like when I moved, a lot of the leadership was gone. There weren't the same people there anymore. It was very, very different, which it was a little disappointing, but I did move out and I did uh what is it? I don't know, life just became a lot simpler in the way of like I was kind of like living on faith a lot, and a good friend of mine told me about a business that he was doing. And I remember calling him, and I remember a lot of my life being like time strapped for money. And I remember seeing, at least when I was growing up, seeing my parents do that. I didn't see my parents own a business, but I did see my parents work at businesses and be employees. And I had a lot of just like my dad would work 12 hours, my mom would work the other 12 hours, and so on and so forth. So I didn't see them around all that much. Like just during the day, I was kind of like one of those like latchkey kids. I would walk home from school and I had a key to get home and stuff like that, which was fun. I mean, it allowed me to be very independent. And my sisters left for college, and while I was still kind of developing and going to like high school and middle school and all that. So it led me to be very independent, and in a lot of ways, I'm very grateful for it. One thing, like I try to look at it with all positivity because I think, like, you know what, I learned how to work hard from my parents, and
Mhm.
that's my takeaway from it. Not like, oh, they weren't there for me; they were definitely there for me, and I think their love language is sacrifice and giving, and so I see that as that's what they're doing, is that they were sacrificing for me and then they were giving for us, and that's why they worked the way that they did. And then with growing up, like not having a lot of others to talk to, I surrounded myself with a lot of like wise counsel. So like I would look for leaders and I would look for people to help me develop, and I would find folks that were like very strong in a certain area. Like who I went for leadership was this retired colonel named Ivan Glasgow, and he taught me a lot about leadership. We learned a lot from him on that, and some what is it? Like Harvey Turner was someone that I learned a lot from spiritually, and I guess clinging to that leadership and other folks to learn from, and then honestly the internet too. I learned to be very self sufficient using the internet. Of just, oh, I don't know how to do this. Let me Google it. Let me YouTube it. And funny enough, my friend that's like a multimillionaire that I'm doing a car wash with, he actually told me, like, I was like, hey, what do you recommend for like studying or for looking stuff up? He was like, YouTube. He was like, YouTube. He was like, anything you need to find, YouTube. He was like, just YouTube it, kind of thing. And that's what
Yeah.
I grew up doing, is just YouTubing everything. And I remember when I worked in information technology, when I worked in like property maintenance, when I worked in like every job, if I didn't know how to do something, I just YouTubed it and boom, that was it. And for me, I think that's why I ended up choosing not to go to college. I have some college credits, but I chose not to like go for an associate's degree or bachelor's degree, because in my mind I was like, okay, it's a degree that tells someone else that I have this information or I've learned this information or that I got access to this information and now I've learned these things. Whereas with the internet, the information is out there for free, and with the library, the information is also out there for free. It's like
Mhm.
very accessible. So I kind of skipped that whole ordeal. And yeah, my dad, yeah, I remember he walked up to me when he was like I was like 15, 16, and he was like, "Hey, by the way, like you can stop going to school now." He's like, "It's legal. Like you can just like stop going to high school if you want to." And I was very confused by that because I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "I've never heard of this before." But I don't know. My dad noticed because they both have college degrees, and then they saw that it necessarily didn't help them as much as they thought it would help them. They were college degrees from Mexico, and they did work in Mexico for a little bit. But yeah, just seeing and meeting more and more folks that were like in a lot of like student loan debt and not having jobs or not being able to find jobs afterwards, and me seeing that as well from my sisters or from other folks. Like I once heard someone say that experience isn't the most valuable thing; it's a evaluated experience. So it's like the ability to look at someone's experience or to experience something and then evaluate it. Because working in what I work in, like I work with a lot of folks that have Medicare, so a lot of them are above 65 or older, and I definitely notice like I believe in respecting your elders and listening to your elders, but I also believe, and I've seen that when someone goes into like a, what do you call it, like a pattern of not evaluating their experience, or that whole saying of like, what is it? The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. When folks fall into those patterns and just kind of keep on going and going and going, and not learning from the past, that's they have a lot of experience, but they didn't evaluate that experience. Anyways, all that to say, yeah, trying to think of where I was going with that.
Well, I was letting you go because while you were talking, I jotted down another like 5 topics.
Yeah, you're just like, wait, hold on.
No, you were feeding me topics this whole time.
Yeah.
But the original question was, what took you away from me? Why did you leave Reno?
Yeah, that and also, oh yeah. So I called my buddy and he was like, "Yeah, man, call me anytime." And he was actually one of my youth pastors from a long time ago. And I called him and he said, "Call me anytime." And I remember thinking like, "What is it that you do that you're available anytime, like whatsoever?" And he told me like, "Oh, I work in like health insurance and I'm self-employed and I work 100% commission," which I didn't fully understand what that meant at the time.
Right.
But what it basically means is that there's no salary, right? Like there's no salary, there's no hourly pay. You don't get paid for your time. You don't get paid for any of that stuff. It's based off of how hard you work. So as long as you're producing results, you're producing an income, which I remember hearing that and thinking like, oh my gosh, I love that, especially since I was a very hard worker. So I was like, oh man, getting paid equitably rather than, consistently. And that's something that I think a lot of folks might like struggle with. And I've noticed a lot of folks struggle with that because I've brought on a lot of folks that left because, they like a consistent pay no matter how hard they work. And I even heard like my sister, like she's going to the post office and she was talking about like, oh yeah, like it doesn't really matter how hard they work because how hard we work because they can't really like fire us once we become like full time and stuff like that. And I was like, man, like I wouldn't want to work somewhere like that,
Right.
like
Right.
I would want to work somewhere where like, you're paid equitably, like if you work hard, then you make a lot. And then if you don't, then you don't make as much. And again, I was attracted to that kind of opportunity because of my work ethic at the time. Because I was willing to put in crazy hours to receive a crazy benefit. And then I started like playing with it. So like my first week doing it, like working in that health insurance, I like went out for a week. Right. And
Well,
then
hold on.
yeah.
So this is why you moved to Kansas City, was to pursue this opportunity?
To pursue this opportunity, and also just I think is where God wanted me at the time. Yeah, without getting into like the very very like personal stuff, like to me that is personal of
No, of
like,
course.
wanting a spiritual thing, but the other parts to it which you might be aware of, but
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off there, but
no,
wanted to
you're good.
realign us on what we're going for. But yeah, you're saying your first going out your first week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Going out on my first week, I worked really hard, and then I made a bunch of money my first week. Or to me, what was like a bunch of money at the time. Like I worked probably like 60 hours or something like that. That first week, went out, and I made like, I want to say like I made. Let's see. Let me pull out a calculator here. Sorry,
Oh
everyone.
boy. Yep. No
It
college
was-
education, can't do it in his head. Yeah.
so yeah,
Stay in school, folks.
yeah, I I made like about 3,000 in a week, and I had
Mhm.
never. I remember at Tesla, because I used to work at Tesla. When I first started, that's how much I was making in about a month, like after taxes.
Right.
And then because I was self-employed, I also learned about write-offs, and because I was driving a lot, I could write off the gas or the miles, and I could write off meals, and I could write off the tires, and have like a business vehicle and all that stuff, and write off all that stuff. So it allowed me to keep more of that money when it came for tax time, because the I don't know, the tax code. I've always thought it's written by business owners for business owners. In all honesty, when you look at it, like you get rewarded quite a bit to have a business in
Yeah.
the U.S. And what is it? Yeah, so I made that in about a week, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can make a lot. And then I started getting really good, where I could start making like 1 to 2,000 in a day. And at that point, I started like playing with it, like, okay, can I go out just one day and match my income, or like raise my income, and then have the free time to do other stuff? Which
Mhm.
that's what I started doing for a while. And honestly, that's kind of what I'm doing now. Like I'm working like 1 or 2 days, and then the other days I'm kind of just learning. And I've been like reading a lot, and I'm learning Japanese at the moment, because I really want to go to Japan, and I'd love to be able to speak with everyone there. And so also, I'm not sure if we talked about this a little bit before, but anytime I would see like an Asian language, I would see it, and I'm like, oh, those drawings are really interesting. Like those pictures are really interesting. I was like, I can't derive any meaning from them whatsoever. I remember I think there's one Chinese character that looks like a house, and I'm like, that one I maybe could have guessed is a house, but everything else, I'm like, I have no idea what these characters mean whatsoever. And then I learned like there's hiragana, there's kanji, and there's katakana in Japanese, which like katakana and hiragana are phonetic alphabets, and then kanji is like pictures that have meaning, and like drawings that have meaning. And I remember first learning about it, and I was like, "What the heck? They got three different alphabets or three different languages?" And yeah, I was just very. And apparently, you have to know like over 2,000 kanji in order to be quote unquote what is it, like a conversational, and to be able to read
Whoa.
stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like no freaking wonder. And I also learned that the Japanese were very good, like during like war times, the Japanese were very good at breaking our codes. Like they were very, very good
Mm.
at it. And I think I don't know, something that helps them a lot is the fact that I think they think in ways that are just, I don't know, they have a lot more, um, like they're able to visualize patterns and see things in
Oh.
drawings, whereas like we just have like the 26 alphabets in Spanish, or sorry, wait, 26 letters in the alphabet in English. And then in Spanish you have like 27 letters or 28 letters in Spanish. But yeah, the Japanese have like these two different alphabets, and then they also have kanji, and then when you write it, you can use all three of them. And even just now, I just came from an Asian market, and I was reading it, and I was like, oh, that's hiragana, that's kanji, and that's katakana. And it was all in one line of text. And there's also no spaces, too. So you kind of have to derive,
Mm-hmm.
what belongs to what. But anyways, really super long
Make sure
tangent.
to everyone make sure to critique his accent in the comments.
Yeah, well, I've learned better to than to speak. You know what? No, I am going to speak Japanese. I am perfectly okay with being made fun of. I said a little bit of Arabic to someone the other night, when I did that whole like time left thing, and she
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
started laughing, and I was like, "Wow, I have never, I've never been felt this roasted before."
Ooh,
By
never.
saying like that, because usually like some folks will say like, "Oh no, that's not how you say it. It's said like this," but she was just like cracking up laughing, like, like bad laughter, like evil laughter, and I was like, dang, okay, that's whatever,
This
whatever.
is one of the best things, or the most entertaining and fun things about being married to Ukrainian is the language, everything that comes along with English being her second language,
Yeah,
actually her third language technically, uh, in a bunch of different ways. Yes, she speaks very well, but there's every now and then there's words where she'll say it wrong because she's really only ever read it.
yeah, yeah,
Which and then and she's great because she just she thinks that's what it is, and so she just is full on into it. So it's like that's how she's saying it,
yes.
and then I'll be listening to her, and I'm like, wait a second, can you say that again? Can you say that one more time? um, also, song lyrics it's amazing listening to her sing songs because she has her own version of lyrics for sure, but doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, I
yeah,
see what you mean.
yeah. So she'll be singing something, and I do admit there's things that I haven't told her are off, just because it brings me so much joy hearing her say it. Uh,
Oh no.
I know it's bad, but it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what's
that's
funny is I have a Hispanic way and like an American way of pronouncing words. And like
uh-huh,
if I'm speaking with someone that only speaks English, I won't say it correctly. I'll say it the way that they understand it. Like
right,
instead of saying like
yeah,
tamales, I'll say like
right, or
tamales or
a
something like
mango.
yeah, instead of like mango or like
Yeah,
just words that are like from
I
or in
hate that.
that are Spanish words. I won't pronounce it correctly because then they'll be like, "Huh, what are you talking about?"
Yep,
But if I'm
yep,
talking with someone that's from Mexico, like I mean, usually I'll just say it all in Spanish.
right. I really do wish I cared more when I was younger, because I grew up around, my mom being from Mexico, her parents primarily spoke Spanish, and so I grew up around that,
Hmm.
and so I could have been very fluent in Spanish. I still can be because I think they say if you're exposed to language, I think before the age of 6, that's sort of the cutoff where there are certain, like if you're not exposed to a language until after 6 years old, give or take, like you'll
Yeah.
never actually catch all of the some of the intricacies of that, of the accent and stuff like that,
Hmm.
which I was. So I think if I like immerse myself in a Spanish speaking culture for 6 months or a year, I feel like I would be fluent. But I
Definitely.
had the opportunity to be, and I didn't care when I was younger to learn it. So
Yeah.
like I took probably 5 years of Spanish in school, but I do understand a fair bit and I can speak a bit as well. But I wish I was fluent now and had
Yeah.
taken advantage of that.
Yeah. With my it was a huge topic of conversation with my family, with my nephews and niece, like as they were growing up, because but they were like, well, they live in the U.S., so they'll know English. Like that's what their parents would say, like my sister and brother-in-law, and I was like, nah, like no, they're gonna regret it. Like you guys are gonna regret it. Like just teach them Spanish. And my brother-in-law
Yeah, yeah.
and sister both know Arabic too, because they were both in the military and they both worked in linguistics, and Arabic was the language that they specialized in. So I'm like,
Mm.
man, you guys got 3 languages to teach these kids. Like, you guys should teach them this. And so they're learning it. Like, I saw they made an ornament and it had English, Spanish, and Arabic written on it, made like by
Wow.
my nephews. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm already jelly cakes of them. you know, you know? They don't
That's
have
what I'm
like
looking forward to. I'm looking forward to when we have kids, because Estella
yes,
speaks Russian and Ukrainian,
ooh,
and
yes,
we both speak English. And then, like I said, if I worked on my Spanish, I could speak Spanish pretty well. So I would love to raise, what would that be? Quadlingual
yes,
kids.
yeah, yeah, 4, right? Because you'd want to teach them 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 languages. Yeah, you know what? Might as well go for quintilingual. 5. At least I think that's what that is.
Well, they would be, because I also speak fluent sarcasm, as you know. So they would definitely have that in their back pocket.
Yeah. A little off topic. Have you seen the second movie for Inside Out? Inside Out 2?
I have not. No.
You have not. Oh, okay. There's a point where she Riley, the main character, speaks in sarcasm, and you in her head you see like a giant chasm appear, and it's a sarcasm. And when you speak across the
Oh
sarcasm,
boy.
your language comes off very sarcastic when you speak across it, which is yeah, it was a fun part of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually we were just talking about Inside Out because I don't think Estella, my wife,
yeah.
has seen the first one. Um, so we were just talking about that the other day. But no, I haven't seen the second. I haven't seen many movies in
Yeah,
theaters recently,
yeah.
or like newer releases recently.
I think she'd
Um,
like Inside Out. I brought it up because
yeah,
last night I was actually watching the show because they came out with the show. It was like 4 episodes, and it's really good. It's all
an
about
Inside
like
Out show,
what was that?
an Inside Out based
Yeah,
show.
yeah, an Inside Out based
Ah,
show. It's same character. It's still about Riley and everything, and it still has like the main characters. But in this one, it's all about dreams, and each dream is ran by a certain director. And the directors are all like it's all like parody, right? It's like making fun of like Hollywood directors. So like there's a director that wants it to be dark and gritty dreams, and then there's a director that's like kind
David
of
Fincher.
yeah, they're kind of like stuck in their own ways kind of director and don't know how to, get with the times. They had a one hit wonder like 20 years ago. And now they're like, oh man, let's just keep on doing that. And now it's not working anymore because, Riley's growing up. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Interesting.
a interesting, really, really
Speak,
interesting.
Speaking of interesting shows, I came across one just browsing. We were trying to find a movie the other day, and
Yeah.
I ran across a show called Secret. I think it's called Secret Level. Have you heard of this?
Secret Level. I have not heard of this.
It's
I'm gonna look
on
it up.
Prime Video, and I think there are 15 episodes. They're short. They're like 10 to 20 minute episodes each,
Mhm.
and each episode is based in the world of a popular video game.
Oh, interesting.
Or, well, in the description it says like popular video game, but the first episode is Dungeons and Dragons, which
Oh yeah. I'm
But
looking at that.
are you looking at it now?
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons: The Queen's Cradle, episode one.
Yeah, and so they kind of go. I'm interested to watch it. I haven't seen any of it,
Yeah,
but it looks like it's pretty well reviewed, and I'm like, that's such a fascinating concept for a show.
it's a
Um,
very fascinating concept.
yeah, if you could do it justice to the original material, I feel like that'd be something to see.
Yeah, I've
Um,
always I thought like a good show idea would be a show like called Crossover. And like, did you ever watch like shows when you were younger and um, what is it? Fairly Odd Parents would mix with Jimmy Neutron or something like that, and then you'd see that
I
crossover. And
did not watch the only. We didn't grow up watching TV.
got
So
okay.
no.
Oh, okay. Well, like just like crossovers, like I would love a show where like it's like the same characters, but they go into a bunch of different shows. Like
Sounds like a
well-known
licensing
shows.
nightmare.
Oh yeah, an absolute licensing nightmare. But I mean, like, there's stuff that kind of do it, or they get some permissions. Like, I know I don't want to bring it up, but like Fortnite, they have a lot of I don't know. The
Right.
fact that they can have so many characters in that game is wild. Like I
Well,
don't
it's
play
'cause they
it.
make so much money they can pay for it.
What was that?
They make so much money they can pay for it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
That is interesting. And that, by the way, I'm continuing to write down topics. Like
Okay.
I already have a long list of topics here because
Yeah,
there's so many things that we can talk about. But I wanna wrap this one up
yeah.
pretty soon. Um,
I
so
would,
you were
I would,
mentioning how like, right now you're working like 1 to 2 days a week, doing your insurance stuff, and then you're reading a lot, and you mentioned the car wash, which we'll get into also in another episode.
yeah.
But is there anything you wanted to expand on that?
Well, I was going to mention with my nephews. Sometimes my nephews and niece. Sometimes they're like, "Oh man, not really wanting to like. Can you just say it in English?" And then the family like we'll all just start talking in Spanish. and they'll be like, "Oh, what are you guys saying?" And I'm like, "Well, we're talking about you, but because you don't know Spanish, you don't know it. That we tell all the family secrets in Spanish, and we kind of do in a way. Like when we're talking about stuff, we say it in Spanish, and it motivates the kids because they're like, "Well, I want to be in on it. Like I want to understand what's going on." So maybe in the future, maybe they're saying that you'll be like you'll be raising your children. They'll be like 9, and then they'll be like, oh, I don't want to learn Ukrainian, and then you two can just start speaking Ukrainian, and then they'll be like, what are you guys saying? And we're like, well, we're talking about you right now because you want to learn Ukrainian, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, something that would motivate me to perfect my Spanish is that if I have kids that can speak Ukrainian and Russian, which I'm not going to be able to learn. I have done a little bit of I've dabbled in some learning in
Yeah.
Ukrainian, and it's not going to be happening. It is very difficult. So I'm like, if I have a kid who can speak with their mother,
Yes.
and I can't understand, well, I want to have a language with them that she can't understand.
Your secret
It's
language.
only fair, right?
Oh, man. Ooh, Mom, should I tell Dad what you said? No, don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Yeah, it'll be entertaining.
Yes, very, very entertaining.
Goodness.
So, I would say for language learning, I'm using Pimsleur, Duolingo, and Preply, and like the trifecta of those things has been very good. Like Duolingo's been great for like reading and for writing, and then Pimsleur has been good for like conversational speaking, and then Preply has been great because it's with an actual person. Like Preply's with a tutor, and you can get it for like $5 an hour. And so I'm doing it with a tutor that trains for $7 an hour because I just want to be cost effective because I'm going to take a lot of the lessons and I'm learning a lot. And what's great about doing it with the actual tutor is you actually hear how they say it in Japan. So like I started using some Duolingo Japanese with her, and she was like, "Oh, we wouldn't say it like that. We would say it like this. Like that is how you would say it formally, but how we actually say it is like this." And that to me is the most valuable part because I don't want to be in like Japan and speaking very like formally. Like I'll learn people, I'll like hear people that learn Spanish in school, and I'll hear like they'll use like vosotros, which like vosotros like that's only used in Spain and like and like that part of the world, like more like Europe. It's not really used in like Colombia or like Mexico or like Guatemala or like, it's not really used, or Guatemala's in Mexico, but it's not really used like in these areas like Nicaragua. Like, yeah, it's just not, it's not like it's very formal, very Spaniard and like very formal. You just wouldn't hear it. But yeah, it's stuff like that, like learning from an actual person that's actually from the location. Very nice. But yeah, I think we're probably going over time, which is my fault. I feel bad. This was supposed to be about both of us, and I think I overspoke a lot.
It's all right. I was actually thinking it's fine. I think taking a little extra time in this first one, because I think it's an important one.
Yeah,
kind of lay some groundwork. We're at about 40 minutes, so let's I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah,
and
I was going to ask you. Do you how about you talk? I've been saying too much.
No, this has been great. I've just been able to take notes. I have a year's worth of topics here, so we're set.
Fantastic.
And we're experiencing how fast this time does go. So
yes,
I think because right now we're recording where we can't see each other. We're just over audio, like a phone call, and we're going to try recording next episode with video to see the difference. I do think this audio only thing is better.
Yeah.
Because you do have to pay more attention to what you're saying.
Yep.
And also listen more intently. So I am enjoying that. Anyway, so after moving to Reno, I was married when I moved to Reno. After a year of living here, I was no longer married. And
let's get into that. Can you speak into detail about? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, so that'll be season 3.
That'll be the backstory.
Yep. I'll have the season. You'll take a season for something similar. So after moving, so after a year of being here, um, I like my life was so very different than my life in California. I was in a brand new city, um, not around anybody I knew really because my ex's family was here, but none of my family was here. So like I remained on decent terms with my in-laws for a while, but like, you know, they're not my blood family. So after a while, there's really no point in staying connected. So like I was very much on my own here, and I was able to get a good job at Patagonia for a while. But I really feel like those years single here in Reno were sort of where I became myself,
Yeah.
and um, I was able to meet some really amazing people. I was able to follow some opportunities and start my own business, my own car rental company. Um, Before even moving to Reno, I'd started doing a side hustle using Turo, which is it's like Airbnb for cars for people who don't know.
Yeah.
And after moving here, the proximity to Lake Tahoe and the airport here in Reno, I realized that it was such a good opportunity to get a couple extra cars to rent full time on the platform for people flying in to go to Tahoe. That worked really well. COVID hit, everything shut down, nobody was traveling. But then when everything opened up again, all the rental companies were in big trouble and had sold a bunch of their fleet
Yeah.
to stay in business. So suddenly there's a huge demand for rentals. Turo blew up, private party rentals blew up. So I was able to expand a bunch. And I did. I quit my day job. I got my dealer's license. And so for the last 3+ years now, I hold a dealer's license. This year I've been ramping up retail sales as well, in addition to the rentals. It's been up and down. I'm sort of crawling my way out of a down period at the moment. And again, this is all stuff we can get into. But I have a great location where I am right now. I've been able to turn this office space into a multimedia studio. Still in process of doing that. And then I met my current wife in Chicago in 2021. What was it? 2021 or 2022? 2021, right?
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting. I know more about your relationship than you do, but it's all right. Brag about it. No,
yeah. And in fact, when I came across my my now wife, Noel, and I were together in Chicago, which is crazy.
But do you want to
remember that we were at
the way
we
you
were at
said
the expo.
that?
What?
You said we were together.
Yes, we were together.
We were both there at the same time. We were not in a relationship.
Wait, I thought this was something. I thought that were things different than what I thought they were.
We definitely have some photos that suggest otherwise.
I got it. Yes, Noel and I were both in Chicago at the same time. With a group of other people as well. Or not. Wink,
yeah,
wink.
or not. Yeah. Who knows? Season 3. You'll figure it out there.
Yeah, that's got to be a little bit later.
Yeah.
So now my wife and I are here in Reno. We are planning to move back to California in a year, to reasons to be talked about later. And I'm planning to keep my business here in Reno, and I'm excited to talk about that at another time. Yeah. That's a little bit of a rundown of where I am right now, what I'm doing, and yeah. Anything else? Anything else you want to say before we wrap this one up?
I mean, honestly, plenty, but I could go on forever. So yeah,
this was good.
Yeah, this was good.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for giving me so much material here. You can see I got a whole list of stuff.
Yeah, I got a note card here too. I was taking notes while you were talking, and I was like, oh, this would be a good topic to talk about in the future as well.
Nice. Well, definitely tune in next time. We'll be expanding on a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah, like,
So
comment, subscribe. No.
like, comment,
Comment and
subscribe.
yeah, because people don't
And
realize, you know, people
100%.
100%, 100%. Yeah, we're
Shout
finding
out Ryan
pros
George.
now. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Nice.
Signing off, Noel. Good
All right.
chatting. See you next
Great,
time.
Chad. All right. Next time.